Turn off every light in your house. Unplug the fridge. Switch off the boiler. Use absolutely nothing for an entire year. You will still owe your energy supplier $328. Not for gas, not for electricity. For the privilege of being connected to a grid, you had no choice but to join. That is what a standing charge is. It is a bill for nothing, and every household in Britain is paying it. Today, we're going to break down exactly what that $328 is paying for, why it deliberately punishes the people who can least afford it, and what the regulator and the big six suppliers have done to make sure it never changes. Once you see how this works, you will never look at your energy bill the same way again. Right now, under the current price cap, the typical household pays around 61p a day for electricity and 29p a day for gas and standing charges alone. That is roughly $328 a year before you have used a single unit of energy. And what you're about to see is where that money actually goes. Network costs. Maintaining the pipes and wires that deliver energy to your home. That part, you could argue, is fair. But network maintenance is not the only thing buried in that daily charge. You are also paying for policy costs. Green levies, the warm home discount scheme, and energy efficiency obligations that the government has quietly shifted onto consumer bills instead of funding through general taxation. You are paying for supplier operating costs, the call centers, the billing systems, the corporate overheads of companies posting record profits. And here's the part that should genuinely anger you. You are paying for other people's bad debt. When customers don't pay their bills, the cost of chasing and writing off that debt gets spread across every standing charge in the country. You are subsidizing unpaid bills through a charge you cannot opt out of, cannot reduce, and cannot avoid. The suppliers have no incentive to fix this. They recover the loss automatically from you. This is not a service fee. This is a toll road with no alternative route. But the standing charge doesn't just cost you money. It is structurally designed to punish the people who try hardest to use less. Think about this. Consider the reality of the situation. A pensioner living alone in a one-bedroom flat, keeping the heating low, boiling the kettle twice a day, doing everything the government told them to do. They pay the same standing charge as a four-bedroom household, running 2 tumble dryers and leaving every light on. The standing charge is flat. It does not scale with usage. It does not scale with income. It does not scale with the size of your home. It does not scale with anything. That means the less energy you use, the higher the proportion of your total bill is standing charge. For low-usage households, and that disproportionately means the elderly, the disabled, and people who have spent thousands on insulation and efficiency, the standing charge can represent 40 to 50% of the entire bill. You insulated your loft. You turned the thermostat down. You switched to LED bulbs. Your reward is a bill where half the total goes to a fixed charge you cannot reduce, no matter what you do. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the system working exactly as it was designed. And the people who are supposed to protect you from this? They've spent 3 years making sure nothing changes. Ofgem, the energy regulator, the organization whose entire purpose is to act in the interest of consumers, has been promising standing charge reform since the crisis began. The result? A pilot scheme. Starting April 2026, with 4 suppliers, covering a limited number of customers. That is not a reform. That is a stalling tactic with a press release attached. 3 years of record bills. 3 years of British households paying 35% more than pre-crisis levels. 3 years of the UK sitting as the second most expensive country for electricity in Europe behind only Germany. And the regulator's answer is to let 4 companies trial something with a few thousand customers next year. Ask yourself who benefits from that delay, not you. The big 6, British Gas, EDF, E.ON, OVO, Scottish Power, Octopus, collect guaranteed revenue from every connected household, whether those households use energy or not. Every quarter that standing charge reform is delayed is another quarter of protected income. Ofgem is not failing to act. Ofgem is acting precisely in the interest of the companies it regulates. That is not incompetence. That is capture. The government's response is worse. The proposed reduction to standing charges amounts to around $39 a year, £39, on a bill that has risen by hundreds. Martin Lewis described it as a baby step. He was being generous. That is $3.25 a month. That is the price of a meal deal. This is not reform. This is theater. Tesco doesn't charge you a $5 just to walk through the doors before you buy your milk. No other consumer relationship in Britain works like this. You pay for what you use. Except energy. Energy charges you for existing. This is where I need your voice. Pull up your last energy bill. Find the standing charge line. Multiply the daily rate by 365 and drop that number in the comments. When enough people see the real figure, the pressure becomes impossible to ignore. So what can you actually do right now? Three things. And the third one is the move most people don't know about. First, check whether you are on a prepayment meter. Prepayment customers have historically paid higher standing charges than direct debit customers, a surcharge on poverty that Ofgem has only recently started to equalize. If you're on a prepayment meter and haven't switched, contact your supplier. Under current rules, you have the right to move to a credit meter at no cost. Citizens Advice can walk you through it. Second, compare tariffs. But compare standing charges specifically, not just unit rates. Most comparison sites default to showing the cheapest overall tariff, which often means a low unit rate offset by a high standing charge. If you are a low-usage household, a tariff with a higher unit rate but a lower standing charge can save you $50 to $100 a year. Money-saving experts' Cheap Energy Club lets you filter by standing charge. Use it. Third, and this is the one the Big Six hope you never find out about. Zero standing charge tariffs exist. They are real. Utilita has offered them. Octopus runs dynamic tariffs like Agile and Tracker that tie your rate directly to wholesale energy prices, and some configurations eliminate or drastically reduce the standing charge entirely. The maths works like this. If you are a low to medium usage household, you can pay a slightly higher unit rate on a zero standing charge tariff and still come out $100 to $200 a year cheaper than the standard price cap. Because you are no longer hemorrhaging $328 on a fixed charge that bears no relation to what you actually use. This is what informed buyers are doing. This is the tariff structure the industry does not advertise because it breaks their guaranteed revenue model. Check Octopus Agile. Check Utilita. Run the numbers against your actual usage. For a significant number of British households, the standing charge is the single biggest waste of money on the entire bill, and it is completely avoidable. Here is the reality nobody in the energy industry wants you to understand. British households are paying 35% more for energy than they were 4 years ago. And the standing charge guarantees that even the most careful, most frugal household in the country cannot bring their bill below 328. You can turn off everything. You still pay. The rule is this: if a charge cannot be reduced by changing your behavior, it is not a fee. It is a tax. And unlike every other tax in this country, it is flat, regressive, and completely unaccountable. Stop accepting it as normal. Subscribe. Next week, we're going inside the smart meter rollout and exposing what your supplier can see about your home that you never agreed to share. That one is going to unsettle you.